Hey everyone. I am so happy to meet you. My name is Maureen Castellon. My website is maureencastellon.com. I am an online course creator. It goes by two names, either LDX or LXD. I design online courses for a very big name corporation, and I was able to double my income last year. And with all the cuts that are going on with the Department of Education, I wanted to make sure that you guys had the same opportunities. And I talk very little about myself in my webinars, but I just kind of wanted to give you an expanded view of myself, so that you could kind of understand where I was coming from when I was in the classroom, or I was in marketing, just a little bit more in depth, because I know right now everything's uncertain. So I wanted to give you as much certainty as I could. So we're just going to go over a few slides of my career, my accomplishments, so you can kind of see where I'm coming from. And so when I give you some advice, you'll be like, okay, all right, I'll take it. Um, but I was in the classroom for 12 years. I was um, in a public high school teaching English, and then I worked in a private school for eighth grade English, and then in between all that, I worked with homeschool children, tutoring homeschool children. I designed and developed museum curriculum. And then I was also an adjunct professor. So I made sure that my teaching career covered a lot, and that I was kind of immune to all changes. If one niche didn't work out, if homeschooling didn't work out, I could go to adjuncting. I believe my career has gone so long and has done relatively well is because I focused on diversifying. And I left the classroom because I was offered to ghostwrite a book on digital marketing. And this is when people didn't know if digital marketing was going to sell or not. And they thought it was snake oil, and people didn't understand what SEO was. They were like, CEO? And it's like, no SEO. So that was super fun, always correcting people. So I became a book ghostwriter, and then I made the leap to copywriting because I had such a strong background in digital marketing. And ghostwriting that book actually was the equivalent of having a certificate in digital marketing at that time. Now some of the things are obsolete, but I've updated. But just to give you, I don't want to read too straight off the slide, but I did a lot of website content and copywriting. What I put on my LinkedIn, I'm not sure if it's still there, but what I used to lead with was Monat was able to sell about $250,000 within the first hour that they launched their new website because of my copy. I went through and I figured out what the niche wanted to hear. I addressed their objectives and pain points. So it was kind of like a how-to guide, and then I did product descriptions, and then I talked about their retreats and everything like that. I'm not affiliated with Monat, so if you had a bad experience, I'm sorry. But that was just in 1 hour. That was the power of copywriting. That was the first time I was like, wow, that's bonkers. It was the first time that I really saw how much value my copywriting could bring to a company. And then speaking of SEO, not CEO, I topped the SERP, the search engine results page at 10 million results for the Holy Trinity of watches. The watch community is very big. And so if you do something called social listening, like go to where your niche is and hear about all the things they want to talk about, their pain points, their objections, your niche is always talking. You just have to learn to listen, and you kind of have to escape that idea that you're the expert. Kind of have to think of yourself more as a sherpa. But I ghost wrote for a few names. This is the only big name that I'm really able to mention. Sherry Chris, she was lovely. She actually had her own shade of pink designed for her, and it's a proprietary shade of pink. So that's kind of cool about her. She's very cool, very forward leaning, great woman. And then I also ghost wrote a lot of thought leadership articles for pet insurance, for the spa industry, for just a whole bunch. And then to kind of round it out with more product descriptions, I worked for two furniture companies, one full time and one as a contractor, designing their product descriptions. And so I know how to really paint a picture and tell a story within about one sentence of text for each product. And I love furniture. I love home design. I one day hope to decorate my apartment, but that'll come when I have a couple of days off. But yeah, I really feel like no matter how much space you are given, you should always be telling your audience a story, and really listening to their objections and their pain points and really addressing them, because like I said, your niche is always talking. You just need to listen. Email marketing. Wow. I actually didn't know until I started putting this together all my numbers. And so I always had to verify everything. And I know it seems like a lot of text on the page, but I won't go over everything. But the same is true for email marketing as it is for website content, and as this is for books, it is for product descriptions. You're telling a story and you're always addressing pain points and objections. But my proudest achievement within email marketing is I broke company records during the pandemic for Hello Mobile signups with my abandoned cart email campaign. I believe it was a 71% conversion rate, which, if you know about abandoned cart emails and conversion, yeah, that's. I called myself a record breaking copywriter for a few years during the pandemic because I was so proud of it. And for those who are sports fans, I was the DC United email copywriter. And I had success with that because I really, divided the audience up into fans, families, value based, just people who saw the tickets and got a good price or got it through work, and then just like kind of the miscellaneous crowd. So I very much chopped up the audience into four niches and kind of addressed all of their concerns, because it doesn't matter how well you know a niche, there will always be a new objection, there will always be a new concern, there will always be a new hope, and you always have to be addressing that. This is where I learned the power of A/B marketing. Always be testing, always be testing. The only change in life sorry the only constant in life is change, so always kind of test that out. um yeah, and so I listened to the audience and I got an increase for like conversion rates. um and that's really what you have to remember with emails is it's all about the conversion. It's never about how fluffy and how floral your writing is. What most people are concerned about is the conversion rate. Oh, I broke company records again with a 35% boost in conversion. Wow, look at that. Some of these I haven't seen in years, just because you get so busy. But yeah, there was a 50% surge in new customer enrollments and a couple of other things. But if you want to go through all of them, you can pause and read. It was really amazing being an email copywriter. And even if you have a newsletter now, just treat it as a funnel and you'll have success there. Um, Training and curriculum development. Because of my teaching background, I was very comfortable designing trainings and curriculum. And what I found is a lot of companies that I was a contractor for, they didn't really understand that they had to do trainings. So when I worked at the telecom company, it was like, well, everyone has changed out their phone, everyone has changed out their SIM card. And I was like, I haven't. I had the same phone during the pandemic for like 15 years. I just didn't see a need to change it. So, you know, we've all had a bad manager. We've all had training that just consisted of just, follow what this person is doing, shadow this person, you'll get it, don't worry. And the you'll get it always bothered me because um, I felt like that wasn't fair for anybody. And I always want everyone to feel supported and to feel like they can be successful, and that, you get a fair shake. And so that's kind of what I went into training and curriculum development with. I really, really feel strongly that well done training sets a company up for success. There's a lot of data to back it up. But I developed engaging learning activities and course content, resulting in a 20% increase in information retention and transfer rates, as evidenced by post-training assessments and feedback for Q-Link Wireless. Wow. Yeah, so that's really the attitude that I kind of went in with, is everyone's getting a fair shake. Sometimes there were no training materials in the places that I was doing this for, or there were no training materials, the training materials were outdated, or they were just in the opposite direction of, it was like 50 hours of training when you maybe needed 5. So I would say the secret for this is creating like clear 30, 60, 90 goals, which is 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and really figure out what the objection is and really meet people where they're at and speak kind of like at a fourth grade level, and make activities one in which the learners will feel confident, because it's not just about checking off a list and thinking, oh, well, the higher ups will love the training. The people taking the training need to love it as well. So I try to make everything as dynamic and interactive as possible. That went for trainings in corporations, trainings for solopreneurs, and curriculum development for, schools and museums. Museum curriculum is very interesting because it's a lot of private funding, and it's a lot of passionate people, and you just kind of have to appease uh, the board members and the people who are really into whatever your museum is about. This one was History Miami, and I did that for adults, adult curriculum for the adult tours, the history tours, and I also went to schools, particularly fourth grade classrooms, and I developed and taught the curriculum for fourth grade, because they had back then, it was a focus on state history. So that was very cool. That was very cool. Um, Community engagement and awareness. So kind of piggyback off of my experience at History Miami, I reached out a lot to the community. In 2025 and beyond, community is going to be the most important thing you sell, more than your product or service. So I really learned how to build community engagement and awareness, and doing it in a way that didn't seem kind of salesy or sleazy. But I went out and I did so many speeches. I did 31 speeches, 73 interactive projects, 16 presentations and tutorials. And I went to schools, I went to tours. I mean, it was it was a lot. And then I also had to document a lot of dark history in a very sensitive way, in a way that brought hope, um, in a way that honored the community leaders who actually lived through the experiences, and not kind of, gloss over the harder parts. So that was always very interesting. Um, SEO and content strategy. So I have my own private formula that I use, but I have gotten a lot of increase in organic traffic, because if you can, always look for ways that you can market organically rather than paid. Just, for your sanity and for your budget. If you can market organically, then you can, really go for it. I believe it's Senator Bernie Sanders who never spends any money on marketing when he is campaigning. It's all organic. So that's kind of the dream, is really speak to people's pain points, address their objections, and do it in a way that you don't have to spend money on it. But again, we're not all there. Yeah, it was a lot of collaboration. SEO is a lot of collaboration. You talk with a lot of SMEs, subject matter experts, and really focus on increasing website traffic. So I topped the SERP at 10 million results for the Holy Trinity of Watches. So that was kind of fabulous. Um, Editorial and content development. I was the editor for Coconut Grove magazine and also Le Aesthetics and Spa magazine. I'm not sure if that one is still around, but I was a freelancer and I went in house. Um, it was a lot of heavy editing with that one, and a lot of reaching out to spa leaders and seeing what they needed. That was intense. A lot of deadlines. And then I also revamped communications. It was a massive project for Wells Fargo at the executive complaints office, and there's a lot of complaints there. So that was very interesting to kind of create formulas and completely revamp communications. I did that for QLink Wireless, Hello Mobile, and Wells Fargo. It's very in depth, but once you're done, you're done, and it's good for a few years, maybe even decades. But I also did some content development and curriculum development for Miami Dade College, and I still, will consult on curriculum there. So it's editing is about 25% of, you know, being in some form of creative or writing industry. And it's all really, really great. So, how can you work with me after you see all these fabulous achievements? Schedule a chat. Go to my website, maureencastellon.com, and put about 15 minutes on my schedule, and we can talk about your online course idea. We can talk about marketing an existing course or even editing, however works best for you. I'm happy to meet you where you're at. You can buy my course if you go to Linktree at Maureen Castellon. You can buy my course there, and it's part video, uh, part text, and I give you a lot of resources to really be successful, because now is the time to be successful. In an uncertain time, you provide a sense of certainty through your online courses. So if you start building now, you're going to be in for success. Or join my community. My community meets every Wednesday night. We do a Zoom for about an hour, and then I have a private LinkedIn group, so you can, ask questions to me or the group, and you can get them answered. And then on Saturdays, I do a webinar, so you can come in and do ask some questions during the QA portion. So you have 3 times a week to really get the support that you deserve and get your questions answered, and really feel like you can move forward, because now is the time to move forward and to really show everyone what your zone of genius is, and be the thought leader that you are. So thank you for joining me. If you want to go through any of the slides and pause and read, um, that would be fabulous. I look forward to working with you.